This video is sponsored by BANISH, so not all microneedling devices are made the same. I know it can be confusing and a bit of a weird landscape to navigate, especially if you're new to it. So today I will be comparing 4 microneedling devices, talking about things like pricing, the user experience, pain levels, and who I would recommend all of them to, helping you to decide which one is the right one for you specifically. Also, I'll be sharing my first impressions of the 4 devices: the Banisher 3.0 microneedling device, the Dr. Pen Advanced Microneedling System, the Derma Roller System, and the Hydra Needle. These are all different price ranges, all different kind of application methods, so hopefully this video will help you decide on which one you should try. Quick disclaimer for this video: everything shared in this video is my honest opinion and experience. That being said, this is not professional advice. First up is the Hydra Needle. The pricing is around €30 for one. It is a stamping and micro-infusion device. If you're not sure what micro-infusion is, it's when they include some sort of serum that goes through the needle when you're pressing it onto the skin. The ease of use for this device, I would say it was easy to use, but it wasn't really easy to sanitize, I don't think. The quality is titanium needles and a glass vial. It comes in sizes 0.25mm, 0.5mm, 1mm, and 1.5mm. So the unboxing experience for this kind of left a lot to be desired. It was literally just the little device in sealed packaging with a couple sentences of like how to on the back. Nothing else in the box. So my thoughts on this device, honestly, even though I do think that the Hydra Needle looks like good quality, I would only really recommend it to someone who is definitely set on wanting to try micro-infusion. I don't think I would recommend it just as someone who wants to try microneedling, but this way of doing micro-infusion is quite wasteful. If you can see in the video, I had to use a lot of droppers and I didn't even get anywhere near filling the whole vial. Because it was kind of half empty, I kind of had to weirdly tilt my head to make sure that the serum was actually going through the needles as I was stamping. And I used a lot of product, and it's like I said, it was not anywhere near full, so that's quite wasteful. I do think that could be quite expensive in terms of having to use so much serum, when in reality, if you just apply the serum normally, you wouldn't even use anywhere close to half the amount that is needed in that vial, not even a quarter of the amount. Also, I do think that even with the guidance online, I do think it was quite unclear with the instructions. Still, as I'm filming this video, I don't know if this is supposed to be a one-time use thing or if it's supposed to be able to be cleaned. I don't think I could find anywhere where they specified either way. I do like the stamping method for microneedling because it does allow for you to have complete control over how much you're doing it as well as how much you're pressing into the skin. Next up is the Dr. Pen Advanced Microneedling System, and it comes with 2 cartridges for I think 2 uses. So this one is quite unique because it is a motorized microneedling treatment. I would say the ease of use is decent. So in terms of the sizes with this one, the pen you can actually adjust, so it goes from 0 to 2.5mm, and you can get different cartridges that have a different density of pins in them. So for the unboxing experience, I would say it was decent. I do think it was quite pleasant. I think the storage box does feel a bit low quality for the price, in my opinion. It's just quite plasticky. You kind of have to put everything in the exact correct spot, otherwise you can't close the lid, which was a bit awkward for me. I do think the device itself does look like pretty good quality. Feels quite heavy. So my thoughts on this device, honestly, it was a bit scary to use. I'm not gonna lie. For me, that motorized feature, it does feel a bit scary because obviously the lowest speed is still quite fast seeming, so it did make me feel kind of like I'm not fully in control. I will say as well, I do think it was a bit of a confusing experience to try to figure out how to actually use it in terms of it being the first motorized one I've used. I was struggling to kind of find any recommendations on the needle depth and the needle speed to use. What kind of areas would be best for different speeds. Okay, quick side note. On their FAQ page, they do actually have a useful chart with needle length recommendations. But honestly, it did take me a while to find the speed level recommendations. You have to find an article about it on their learning guides. And to be honest, I think something like that should really be in the user manual. As I mentioned, it did take me a while to actually find it. I'm only just finding it now as I'm editing. Or even in their manual, I feel like there should be a little note to help direct the user on where to find these guides. Anyway, back to the video. So I used this device on the 0.25mm setting and on the lowest speed. The 0.25 is a very low setting, and even so, I found it quite painful on the cheekbones. I think, for example, on here it was okay, but going to the cheekbones, I could even just barely holding it on there, not pressing down a lot, I found it quite painful. Again, on their website, they even mention using numbing cream, so that kind of gives an idea how it could be quite painful. I don't think it's just me. Numbing cream is a whole nother topic, so due to these things, I would only really recommend this device to someone with a lot of experience. I would only recommend it really to someone who knows what they're doing, maybe even is just a professional, has quite a bit of money to spend, not just for the device but also for the cartridges, since it seems like you might need a new one every time, as well as someone with quite a high pain tolerance. All three of these things, not just one of them. Next up, we have the Banisher 3.0. So to try the Banisher, there is a few options in terms of pricing. For example, I have the Banisher Starter Kit, which also includes some other skincare products to work alongside your microneedling device. This comes in at around 245 euros. But if you only want the microneedling device, they have the Banisher 3.0 kit. This comes in at 145 euros or $130. I do have a whole video trying the Banisher out, as well as talking about the skincare that comes with it and all that stuff, so I'll leave that linked below or in one of these top corners. Now, if you remember, the other two devices had only a couple uses depending on how many heads they came with. For example, this kit comes with 2 heads, but each head can be used multiple times when cleaned, which gives you a total of up to 16 sessions. That is so good for long-term results. For either of these 2 kits or anything on the Banish website, feel free to use my code or link below to save yourself a bit of money. So in terms of ease of use, I do think the Banisher is so good for anyone of any level. I started using it as a complete beginner, and that's why I love it so much, because it's just shown me it does not need to be complicated and scary using microneedling devices. So the quality of this device is actually gold-plated thin titanium needles. So this is a manual stamping device. So in terms of sizes, they do offer 0.5mm, 0.25mm, and 1mm. But for example, both of these kits come with 2 reusable 0.5mm heads. So for the unboxing experience, it's really nice. I really do like their reusable box to store everything in. It's just simple, custom made. It works really well, really easily as well. They just slot in very nicely. There's no fumbling around. Also, it might be small, but I really do like as well that it has magnets on the little flap of the box to securely keep it closed. I just moved apartments recently and I had no worries at all that this thing was going to come open and everything was going to come out basically because of how secure it is. And the box is quite a thick kind of cardboardy feeling material, so it really kept everything nice and safe. Also, I really do like that inside the door there's a nice little helpful graphic. So my thoughts on the Banisher 3.0, I think it's a really nice, simple but premium feeling device. It genuinely feels like the brand really cares about their user experience, just from every step, from unboxing to using it, to reusing it, to storing it, to going onto the website. It really feels like every step of the way they care about how your experience is with this device, and they want to help you figure out how to use it and how to do it safely and properly, most importantly. I know for me personally, these specific aspects gave me the confidence to actually try microneedling for the first time. I also really appreciate that Banish takes hygiene very seriously. They created this custom cap that goes over the microneedling device, which is where you pour the isopropyl alcohol into and let it sit. And I personally love that that cap is just what the device needs, no more, no less. So you're not wasting a bunch of alcohol. I kind of found myself with these other devices finding a random container, maybe a small bowl or something, or a cup, filling it with quite a lot of isopropyl alcohol just so the device itself could fit inside of it and be submerged in alcohol. And obviously that's quite wasteful. Also, the fact that it's very clearly labeled as reusable, and they actually tell you how many times you can reuse it based on how you use the device. It's very clear information that like I said, I found hard to find on other websites for some reason. You would think this is simple information. Just like any other microneedling device, I do find this quite noticeable, especially on the cheekbones, you know, the more bony parts of the face like the forehead as well, but definitely still very usable. So I recommend the Banisher to anyone who's interested in trying microneedling at home. Its beginner-friendly guides and easy-to-use system is great for beginners, but also these reusable heads, as well as the different needle lengths, makes it perfect for someone who's more experienced or has been doing it more long-term. The reusable heads are less wasteful, customizable with the head sizes, and the fact that this is a manual stamping device makes it very easy to again customize exactly how you want your microneedling session to go. So if you're a beginner, you could go way easier, or if you're more experienced, you can go in with more confidence. So last, and honestly maybe least, we have the Derma roller system. Now the price for this device is cheap. You can kind of find it for different prices in different places, so I'm not exactly sure what price to list it as. I've seen it anywhere from €2 to €15, so you can get different sizes, I found, depending on what website you find it on. The ease of use, I would say too easy, and not in a good way. So for the unboxing experience, I do think the packaging was quite outdated, which does not inspire confidence. And it comes with a simple but thick kind of plastic storage box. So my thoughts on this device: I do think the device and the handle itself does feel heavier than I expected, but apart from that, it does seem kind of cheap, which is quite worrying for this kind of device. Sanitizing this device was quite hard and the most wasteful, I would say, out of all of them, because the actual area you have to sanitize is so big. I had to fill up a glass quite a lot. At first I was kind of trying to roll it in a bowl of sanitizer and it wasn't really feeling like it was doing anything. So very wasteful in terms of isopropyl alcohol. So why do I say too easy to use? This roller style is very easy to be reckless with. Even if you think you're being careful, it might be too easy to have a bit too much confidence and maybe go over areas more or press into the skin too hard. Not being able to sanitize it very easily, as well as that recklessness, can cause way more bad than good. Being hard to sanitize is a big red flag in my eyes. Sanitization for this type of treatment is absolutely key, as well as the fact that there is basically no guidance on how to use this device, how to clean it, all that stuff. I will say there are some descriptions I found that do have some guidance, but because the device isn't exactly from a specific brand, it seems, all the advice seems a bit generic for any microneedling system. Plus, since I'm not sure if there's an actual brand attached to this product, it leaves you a bit alone and in the dark if anything did come up that you wanted to ask questions about or get more tailored advice for this specific product. Also, you might have heard this before, but any device that's kind of like a roller, the needles don't go straight into your skin. For a stamping device, it goes straight into your skin, kind of parallel. But when it's kind of got a lot of needles going all in different directions, like on a spherical object, like the roller, that can cause the needles to not go straight into your skin and again, cause more bad than good, basically. So as you can see from this video, I did not test this on my face. I do not feel comfortable testing this on my face. I even felt a bit scared using it on my arm. So who would I recommend this device to? No one. I would not feel confident recommending this device to anyone, basically. I really don't think it's worth the risk of how cheap it is, how hard it is to sanitize, as well as the actual application method. I don't trust it personally. Okay, I hope this video was helpful. Do let me know down below if you're curious about any of these devices specifically, or if this video helped you decide. Like I said, I know it can be really daunting to try microneedling, especially if you're a beginner. So I hope this video was helpful and inspired some confidence in the right directions. Do remember to like and subscribe. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.